Now, this discussion is epic. It cannot get bigger than this. These are the people who decide the flow of the winds of the industry. Literally. The topic we view from the top. Web entertainment now and next. First on stage, one of the best moderators ever, Mr. Sameer Bangara, co-founder and managing director, QK Digital. Joined by my ex-boss, Mr. Raj Nayak, ex-COO, Wycom, जिन्होंने हमारी जिंदगी में कलर भर दिया. Mr. Ashish Bhasin, CEO, Great South and Chairman and CEO, India Dens to Wages Network. Mr. Satya Raghavan, Director, YouTube Content Partnership India. And Mr. Tarun Katiyar, CEO, Z5 India. Please give them a big round of applause.
Check. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for that glowing introduction. I'm glad to know I have a second profession. But the fact is, I do love moderating. I turned down every opportunity to be on panels because I think it's a lot more fun to be on this side, and especially when you have this kind of a panel. This is clearly the most heavyweight panel that I've ever moderated. And truth be told, we normally do not sponsor conferences. We bought our way into this to get this panel. But jokes apart, it's not entirely true, it's only partly true. I think despite the fact that we do a lot of stuff, we work with some of the biggest YouTube stars, we also work with some of the biggest TikTok stars, and so we make content across the spectrum, free content to high value content, perhaps not as high as what Tarun is doing today, but certainly YouTube Originals' first show arrived in India, was a multi-million-dollar format. But despite doing all of that and running a very large brands business, it would have been impossible for me to get these four gentlemen into a room. So I'm thankful, and congratulations IWM Buzz for doing a fantastic job of getting these gentlemen into a panel. So Raj, I want to start with you, and I want to ask you, in this, you've seen television content for so long. You kind of broke the mold, perhaps with 24, when you launched it, when stuff was made for 20-30 lakhs at best an episode. You launched 24, which was touted at that time for 1.5 crore an episode. How did that work? What were you thinking when you launched that? Because I want to bring that into context of how this game of spending money, the whole buzz right now is, all of you have read Sacred Games for 100 crores, right? In one sense, is that such a big deal? Because in the South, films are made for 400, 500 crores. So is that such a big deal that you made a series that is 3 times the length of a Bollywood film for 400 crores? For 100 crores. It seems about okay, and we'll come to some of the math of that. But the first guy to do this, because Satya sitting to your left is the original OTT. The OG OTT is YouTube, right? But you sort of broke the mold on the content investment piece. So talk to us a little bit about, quickly, what were the dynamics for you to make that leap, and did you ever make money on that?
In fact, when I took the decision, I didn't think about it, honestly, because when I went back to my board, one of the questions they asked me is, how much you spend on a half-an-hour show? And I said, 7-8 lakhs. So they said, so how much will it be on a 1-hour show? I said, maybe 15 lakhs. They said, you're going to spend 1.5 crores. And I said, yes. And they said, will your ratings be 10 times more? And that's the time when I realized what I had done. But having said that, and the answer was very simple, if you didn't do it, somebody else is going to do it at some point or the other. And one of the things I still maintain is Indian broadcasters don't spend enough on content. The argument has always been they don't make enough money. It's not true. Big broadcasters make a lot of money on content. And like Sameer said in one of his earlier, when I was listening to him earlier, it's basket for basket. Overall, you make money. And the fact is, yes, 24, Season 1 and Season 2 both made money. Fantastic. In spite of the fact of spending 1.5 crore plus on an episode, plus marketing costs and everything. So if you have good content, there are advertisers willing to back you up, and there are viewers who will want to watch it.
Fantastic. Okay. Satya, the original OTT, the time that Raj was running Colors, that was the time, if you all remember, that you could watch Comedy Nights with Kapil on YouTube. You could watch all the star shows on YouTube. And about that time, there was a business deal between YouTube and the broadcasters. And then at some point, the broadcasters decided to go OTT on YT. Why did that happen, and how did you guys see it? Why did you allow it? Did you think that was, was there a power struggle there of who's getting the eyeballs? What was the reason?
So I think it's all the evolution of all of these platforms, right? I mean, if you actually take a step back and actually go back to the days of the first KBC, at that point of time, I think what Star did was actually invest way ahead of the curve, right? It probably didn't even have that kind of viewership, but it invested way ahead of that. And on the basis of that, then they got that viewership, and then they kept investing, and then they kept getting more returns, right? So if you actually look at that as a continuum, I think what happened with, let's say, broadcast content actually followed a similar curve, right? Broadcasters saw audiences actually move away from TV to digital platforms. For them, because broadcasters actually have a lot of good IP in that sense, they also have the consumer who's kind of very engaged with them. Actually, they took a hedge and then they said, okay, why not launch our own OTTs, right? So it started with one, and now actually every broadcaster has their own OTT. Our strategy has never been about having content or not having content. Our strategy is always about the partnership that we build with them, right? So even when a broadcaster puts a lot of content and over time then figures out, okay, how do you then build audiences? They end up building those audiences with us, right? So we give them then great ad solutions so that they're able to then reach that consumer. Right. So for us, it's always a good state of equilibrium in that sense. As content goes through its life cycle, as a broadcaster goes through its life cycle, and touchwood, the ecosystem is growing, right, at this point of time, right? So I go back to 2014 when we saw the first set of broadcasters actually start to make the move into OTT. At that point of time, even we saw people like you and me, I mean the talented ones among us, actually use YouTube as a platform to kind of broadcast themselves.
You've got to catch Satya's humor. It's very subtle.
You'll catch it.
Yeah, go on.
So we saw actually a lot of what we call YouTube-first content emerge at that point of time.
Right.
And therein, again, we found equilibrium in that sense, right? Even today, possibly a new sub-vertical of content has emerged, which we will then see becoming big next year in that sense. So I guess for every platform, they have to figure out where they are in that life cycle, what equilibrium they are at. And for us, it's always been about partnerships, right? So we work with Viacom, we work with Star, whether it's on the content side of things or on the viewership side of things.
Okay. Tarun, if I can have you jump in. So web entertainment it was largely YouTube. I think Facebook made a great sort of run for it with Facebook Watch, and but I don't know how many of you, raise your hands, how many of you actually go back to Facebook to watch content versus casual discovery? Anybody? Okay, fantastic, 2 people. So, or 4 maybe, but that's the whole point. So as far as a medium to actually consume content, it was largely YouTube and then the OTTs that emerged, the original set of OTTs and Hotstar and Voot, and then Z had 3 offerings. There was Devo and a couple of them before everything got consolidated in Z5. But, and then completely left of center came TikTok and the run of all of those apps, the short format video apps, that have proved that, as much as we might all sitting in this room find some of that content cringy, or this doesn't make any sense, that's exactly what people said about YouTubers back in 2011 and 12, until a Bhuvan Bam emerges today out of that and becomes a brand ambassador to, and is on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. By the way, there's a TikToker also who's on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. But the point is that this is evolving so rapidly that someone like yourself, so super interesting background, right? You've been, in fact, so Samir is here who launched KBC. Satya, were you at Star when KBC was first opened? So you're here, and then Tarun, you took over that, right? So so it's interesting that how that's evolved. But coming from TV and those kinds of investment, how do you see, can you slot for us all OTTs aren't the same. Netflix doing 10 crores an episode is not the same as somebody doing 10 lakhs an episode, not the same as a TVF maybe doing 10 to 20 lakhs an episode. They're all different. Can you make sense of that for a second before we jump in any deeper into what that part of web entertainment is about?
You're expecting me to write a white paper.
Yeah, I mean, you're the only guy who can do it in about 45 seconds.
Interesting. So I think everything evolves in time and space, and everything has a space in the entire ecosystem. There will always be YouTube. There will always be things like FaceApp and TikTok and so on and so forth. Dub Smash. Some of them may be flash and pan. Some of them will be there to stay, and then there will be the solid entertainment, right? When we did KBC or when we did Idol at Sony and so on and so forth, we actually spent the same amount of money that today you talk about spending on these big digital shows. I remember doing, Idol and the history of Idol was Saregama in India. But when we got on to In Idol, the numbers were not very different from what we're talking about at 24 or things like that. And yeah, and Big Boss, and right, we did Big Boss, and then the first Big Boss I did at Sony, and then it moved to Colors. So the numbers haven't been very different. Let's talk about where this ecosystem has gone.
The
right?
numbers of production have been different than what digital is spending today. That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay.
So let's talk about where the ecosystem is today, right? There will be the ad-supported OTT or digital video streaming platforms that will be free to the consumer, that will have a lot of self-publishing for creators to come in. It will work on people's psychographics of wanting to become famous and wanting to be recognized and so on and so forth. And so there will be the YouTube and the TikTok in that bucket. Then there will be the freemium models. There will be catch-up TV. And I increasingly think that catch-up TV will not be free or ad-supported for very long. If you look at Netflix in the US, it was purely a catch-up TV service. And people didn't pay for originals, they paid for convenience. And for very long, until about House of Cards came about, and until about Netflix realized that the broadcasters or the networks in the US were going to do their own digital streaming platforms, they continued to just buy and deploy that content. This original thing on Netflix only started about 18 to 24 months ago, in all seriousness. Yeah. Catch-up TV currently in India is ad-supported, but over a period of time, and Hotstar has done this, we've done this, people are going to start windowing the catch-up TV to subscription versus ad-supported. Because unlike what we believe, catch-up TV also has a fair amount of resonance with consumers, and people are willing to pay for convenience or paying for exclusivity of watching that content. Then there is the original premium content, which includes big originals, big movies, and so on and so forth. In that bucket comes Netflix, comes Amazon Prime, and comes ZEE5 in the larger scale, and then there is Hotstar, which is entering with some amount of volume in that space. That space is also not crowded enough, but it requires a threshold amount of content for people to start seeing this as their first choice of entertainment on an ongoing basis, right? And that space will evolve with also the device ecosystem evolving. So the smart TV ecosystem is the one which is propelling that more and more. I do believe what we are seeing in India is a proliferation of devices from one end to another. So at the free end, there will be the Jio feature phone, where YouTube is there, ZEE5 is there, which is the KaiOS ecosystem, which is the phone that really can do bare amount of video streaming, but is seeing a lot of offtake. Then there is the $100 Chinese phone. Those consumers will consume a lot of free content. And then as you get to the smart TV on the other end, with broadband proliferating, the FTTH proliferation that Reliance has announced, and I do believe that is real, and they will get to about 20-30 million in the next 18 to 24 months, you will see a lot of video on demand and premium content coming into this country. But that will happen on the TV screen as we saw it, so many years.
Okay, fantastic. So two things strike me as really poignant in what he said. One was that that digital is spending as much as what TV used to spend on content. And while it's about the same. In one breath, it's not really much more. The point is that digital is actually spending as much as TV used to spend. Let's look at it. TV makes 25,000 crores a year in advertising. Digital is nowhere close to that in terms of the offtake on that piece. There's about 16,000 crores, 15,000 crores, give or take 1,000 crores. But in terms of revenue monetization, outside of the ad piece, it's only about 1,300 crores. The KPMG put out something just yesterday. So the point is that if digital is actually spending as much as TV, that for me is a tectonic shift forward in terms of outlook. That's one part. The second part is the general view is this is an extremely crowded space. People club it, and that's why I asked you that, and thank you so much for clarifying that there's 36 or 50 OTTs, depending on what you count. Actually, in the segments that you highlighted, it's not that crowded a space for the specific segments.
Add a rejoinder to what you're saying. You know, there can be as many number of OTT platforms. Creating a video streaming platform is very difficult. You know, there's a native player, and you can write a wrapper around it, and you can have a small video OTT, app or stroke a web space started off, right? The problem is, do you have threshold amount of content to engage consumers? And there are only the 4 broadcasters. You can take Sun in the south, and there are the 2 international players who have the threshold amount of content, and then there is YouTube and on self-publishing and TikTok. There's only those many that have threshold amount of content to keep people engaged. You need enough content for people to keep coming back to you and to have retention of users. Yeah.
So clearly, and Ashish, I'm trying to come to you, but before I set context to that, this threshold amount of content, this point about threshold amount of content, so clearly there will be some sort of consolidation. Not everybody can compete in this pie. If you just do the math in terms of the 100 crores ostensibly that's spent on Sacred Games, even at the reduced price point of 200 rupees, all of you heard Netflix has announced a 200 rupee mobile subscription. At 200 rupees a month, all it takes for Netflix to recover that entire 100 crores is 500,000 subscribers. 500,000 subscribers and they're done, recouping their entire cost. Now, Reed Hastings said that he's expecting the next 100 million consumers, subscribers to come from India. 100 million. We're talking about 500,000 recouping this cost. And last year, they spent 80,000 crores on content. So 100 crores in India versus an overall spend of 80,000 crores to go deeper in the market that's going to get you your next sort of growth in valuation. If you see Netflix stock recently tanked because they've, I think, slowed down or something went wrong. But the point is, this is their foray. So they, I think, will just dig deeper. So in the context of that, Ashish, given where the digital spends are today, why aren't we being able to see, when we sit at conferences and closed-door sessions, there is this real, and Raj, please jump into this also from the content side, if you can, and Satya. Let's talk about content marketing. How many of you have heard, gone deaf listening to content marketing is the future and content marketing is the key? The way to get to consumers is not advertising, it's content marketing. And yet, hardly any money gets spent on content marketing. Roughly about, the 15,000 crores in digital advertising is half and half. Of course, a bulk of that, as we were chatting, is performance marketing. But at some point, this the consumer is really not engaging necessarily with performance marketing. I mean, they're not getting a high out of consuming that performance marketing. The point is that it's working for the brand, so let's do it. But what about the future? That's now. But this panel is about the future. How do we see brands genuinely coming into this? And I don't mean doing branded content where they do, imposing the brand's objective, but there are ways and means of getting, passive advertising, post-production, etc. There's enough technology to enable that. Why aren't we seeing that happen in the advertising community? On the brand side, and someone like you could actually influence that. What's your take on that?
I think that is a typical thing. You always want the advertiser's money, but don't want to hear his voice. So, and I think that's the first thing we need to learn, that we need to understand that the guy who's paying the bill, you've got to listen to him. Yep. And if you listen to him or her, what you will see is that if there are 100 rupees being spent, so Dentsu Aegis Network does a Dan Digital report every year, and that roughly says the market is around 14,000 crores for digital, right? But of this 14,000 crores, about 78% of it is going away to 2 players, the duopoly of Facebook and Google. Now, the number may not be 78, it may be 76 or 81 or whatever, but roughly that. And I'm using my agency as an example because we're amongst the largest players.
Yeah. So for all the nationalists out there who want to believe with this, 70% of all of that 14,000 crores goes to Facebook and Google.
Not 70, 78%.
78%.
Nearing to 80. And right. The numbers growing, not reducing. Yeah. Right?
Dentsu is an Indian company?
Other 13, well, certainly the people who invested in your company aren't. So the other...
we haven't announced an investment.
The other 13% roughly out of that, which takes it to over 90%, is there are three, four, five big players. Hotstar is the biggest of that, largely because of cricket, which is because that gives really a spike. And this year you had two of the cricket seasons. And then you have, let's say, LinkedIn or Twitter, or, some of the big established ones. Amazon is coming up in some ways. And as e-commerce goes bigger, maybe Flipkarts, etc., their advertising platforms will take place. So it leaves actually only 9% of the monies. And at last count, when we did a count, like I was telling you, we as an agency were dealing with 5,000 people from maybe larger players like ZEE5 right down to a small guy who were actually getting 9% of our client share. And we decided, look, we can't cope with it. We were dealing with 5,000, they're probably 25,000 or more, right? So we started rationalizing it. So the money that is really available is much smaller. And one thing that does happen in India is that and you can see it in films and everything, once something succeeds, everybody jumps onto the bandwagon. Once the OTT area started succeeding, from 1 or 2, you had 32. Maybe there is no space for 32, at least not all to be supported by advertising. Maybe the space, maybe there'll be consolidation, there'll be onto that. The fact of the matter is that we are overestimating, first of all, the market that is available, the money that is available. Now, the shift will happen. The shift will happen because of very obvious reasons. At the moment, there are 450 million people roughly on internet. Our studies show that in the next 3 years, that number is going to go to 750 million. And that's a very interesting point, because this will happen around 2022, end 2021, because if you look at South Korea, if you look at China, countries which are relatively ahead of us in the digital curve, there comes an inflection point when the reach of television and the reach of digital starts converging, right? At the moment, TV reaches roughly about 750 million people. I think in about 3 years' time, these reaches of digital and TV will converge. And the big spenders on advertising, whatever you say, the big money on advertising comes from people like FMCGs, automobiles, durables, etc. In the end, they want numbers. They want large numbers of people, right? Once that happens, I think the pie will increase. And like everybody else has said before, it is really content that's going to drive it. And I think we have to stop classifying it as content marketing, this marketing, that marketing. Advertising follows a very simple principle. Advertising follows eyeballs, right? If people are watching something, money will flow there. It takes time, there is a lag, it's not direct, sometimes there's up, down, all of that agreed. But in the long run, I as a consumer don't switch on a TV to say, aaj maine surf ki ad dekhni hai. It frankly doesn't matter to me whether it'll come on Sony or Star or on Colors. I am looking, supposing tomorrow they say that cricket match is going to be telecast on Colors, I'll watch Colors, right? And I think that's the area where we've got to get our head around as an industry. Once we do that, you will see that monies will start flowing correctly.
So if I may just, the point I was, it's not the question of whether it should go outside of FB. So I'm not arguing the case for the money going to the OTTs that are vying for the 9% of the rest of the pie. The question is the nature of the spend within within display, albeit on Facebook, on YouTube, or Google. The nature of that spend could potentially change. And today, I'd grant the point that as a brand spending the money, I'd want to see results. But some portion of that could be invested in sort of long-term IPs. I mean, there's, the previous panel talked about some fantastic IPs and content from all of the companies, Pocket Aces, TVF, other cool companies like Yuki. But the point is, there's very little money that is coming into that piece, and that's not going away from FB or YouTube. So within that segment, the nature of the spend is the question.
Definitely, and I think more and more of that will happen, but somebody asked a question earlier, a very important, see, today every marketer is pressed for ROI. Right? If he's putting in, everybody's results are measured quarterly. Forget about building my brand over a long period of time. Those days are gone. The average tenure of a marketing manager is 18 months. So if he's going to say that I'm going to build my brand over 10 years, his 3 successors would have come and gone by then, right? It's not like the good old days. So as long as you can bring in some amount of measurability and accountability, I think advertisers are willing to put in their money. What is happening at the moment is that there's first a battle between mediums. There is digital versus TV versus print, and everyone is trying to justify one or the other. I personally believe there's enough space in India for all. It's not one or the other, it is one and the other. Then within the medium, if you find somebody who's in the content marketing space, I mean, loosely using that word, he will always try to convince you that's the best thing possible. There's nothing else. You should put all your money over there. But 2 minutes later, you go and meet somebody from Google. He'll tell you, boss, it's all about search and performance. Even digital, even video should become search and performance, and so on and so forth. So there is a huge battle that the ecosystem is not being developed. Everybody is trying to work in very narrow channels. The moment we are able to measure across media, across formats, automatically the money will flow to the right place. Now, whether the right place is content marketing or whether the right place is something else, I don't know. But why the system is not fair today, I feel, is because there's no one measurement that can measure across TV, across various formats of digital, etc. Somebody is dealing in yen, somebody is dealing in dollars, somebody is dealing in pounds.
Isn't BARC supposed to do that? Isn't that the digital metrics?
Well, BARC was supposed to measure television. It did attempt at some stage to take up digital, but to the best of my knowledge, maybe Raj might know more, but to the best of my, I do sit on the BARC board, so I do know this. The best of my knowledge, there is no immediate plan of digital to come in. And I think it's time the industry got together, and this is the most measurable medium.
Absolutely.
You can actually know who spent what time where to the, I mean, when you guys come, when people like Google come, they can tell you every damn thing.
Yep.
But as an ecosystem, we've not agreed on a common currency. Within digital, forget about beyond digital. So measurability actually is being provided by individual players. And there is no third-party industry-agreed format. There are attempts that have happened, like BARC was one of those, but we haven't come to a consensus. And then the need has to be that it has to go across platforms. I mean, for him, how does it matter, or let's say for the owners of Z Group, how does it matter whether somebody is seeing the content on Z5 or on Z as a channel? As long as they're watching their content, they'll find some way to monetize it. But today, there is no way where you can have a single slice across all of that, and I think that's the big need the industry needs to handle.
And from where you're sitting, you don't see that happening in the next 6 months to a year?
I don't see that happening for next 2 years, because like good argumentative Indians, we try to build a perfect system, and none of us can come to a consensus, and all of us are to blame for that. None of us can come to a consensus. My plea is that let's not wait to build the ultimate superstar thing. At least let's agree on a common currency. I mean, somebody comes and tells you, if you watch my ad for 2 seconds on digital, 2 seconds or 3 seconds or 5 seconds, it's a view. Somebody says, no, it has to be 30 seconds, etc. At least basic parameters as an industry, we should come to agree so that we are all operating on a common platform that will do the medium a lot of good, that will do your content marketing a lot of good, because maybe there's a lot of value that's getting missed because it's not getting measured.
Right. You wanted to jump in?
Samir, a lot has been said about branded content marketing forever. I've been in this business for 20 years, and we've been hearing this forever and ever. And you guys have to introspect. Why did it never take off, right? Even when digital came in, and people thought that you can do it for cheaper and host it easier on YouTube and so on and so forth. It's fundamentally because it doesn't deliver to KPI, right? Nobody's willing to take a KPI, and the world moved on. And people moved into digital advertising, then moved to performance fully. And 70% of advertising is performance. We invested, and we have continued to invest so much in our ad stack. We could have done a lot of hosting and content marketing, because we have a whole host of influencers and the kind of content that we have. But we went on to building performance marketing and building a base of 70 million users, because we knew eventually everybody wants to deliver a business metric. And good content marketing will succeed if they start to watch onto that bandwagon, right? And measurement is a good thing, but I think the kind of granular measurement that a digital platform that anyway gives you today, whether it's YouTube, whether it's us, whether it's anybody else, nobody's ever given you, right? We can give you cohorts, we can give you segments, we can give you any amount of information and deliver that to your top funnel as well as your bottom funnel, and move people down the funnel through video. So most of what is happening on Z5 today or on YouTube is performance marketing through video, which in a sense is all content marketing anyway.
I think on the KPI front, if you look at several examples that I've seen, and if Aniruddha is here in the audience, you'll know. I mean, we've seen upfront that depending on what that KPI is, let's say if you say cost per install or a brand lift on something, actually measure that, you could, with the right kind of, it's actually moved away from content marketing, moving rapidly towards advocacy through plus influencer. Just some of these influencers, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok, I mean, the music industry is already rapidly moved towards TikTokers promoting the content, which gets promoted on YouTube, which then drives streaming revenues, which then starts the entire chain. So it
and
is
it's
working.
also eventually all about hyper-personalization,
Yes.
right? It is about content discovery, it is about hyper-personalization. And all the digital platforms can do is actually get you at the right time, day of week, you as an individual, your taste, your watch history, so on and so forth. So you don't have to go through a million videos to get to what you need.
Right, right.
And an advertiser gets you there much faster.
I want to bring Raj into this. And Ashish, I saw in one of your older interviews, you said that you don't believe in research too much. And I want to bring, I mean, it's more about gut and seeing that. And Raj has been the quintessential salesman selling the storytelling around content, right? I remember the great story you told me about when you were selling IPL the first time, or I forget, cricket rights on TV. Now, was this... We're talking about KPIs for brands. When you've sold thousands of crores worth of advertising in your career, how often was it KPI-led versus were you able to tell a great story?
See, first I think the whole landscape has changed. Ashish just mentioned the average marketing manager now, his tenure is 18 months. He doesn't think long term. And this is coming from a very senior advertising professional. It scares me. It really scares me.
It is frightening.
But that's the truth.
One of the key reasons why people don't experiment,
But that's
right?
the truth. But
Yeah.
the earlier days was not like that. A brand manager, whether he stayed or didn't stay, he thought long term for a brand. Today, nobody thinks that. I think that's the fundamental flaw in what's happening, because everybody is looking at what's my KPI for the next bonus or my thing to be met short term. Even agencies.
Yeah.
You see, clients are shifting agencies. I mean, agencies don't last. So there's no relationship that's there. Having said that, I also want to address on the research part of it. I think, first of all, in the digital itself, unless Google and Facebook, who take 78% of the money, are part of it, it will never happen. And why will they want to come when they're taking 78% of the money? Why will they want to come? They're not stupid.
Come.
Right? They will not. That's the reality. And within digital also, people who are selling, within digital itself, there is no, everybody has different metrics, even within digital,
Right.
on what the measurement should be.
To Ashish's point about
Okay.
getting...
Just-
more-
one minute, one minute,
Just
one
to-
minute.
just
Yeah.
a point.
Yeah.
Just to on Satya's point. Most of the
You
industry
need one more
has
mic
now
here, please.
uniformly
Satya can... oh, you got it.
uniformly implemented Motandar, and even they are going down that direction.
I hope so.
No.
But I know that this Ekam has been coming for the last, I don't know how many years I've been hearing about it. And I hope it does. I genuinely hope it does. But what I'm saying is,
Sorry, what is that? What's coming?
Ekam, that's the BARC thing
Oh, the BARC
for,
thing,
for
okay.
digital
Right,
measurement, which was supposed to do not just digital, but like Ashish said,
Digital plus TV. And
there
bring
has-
everything into
yeah.
one thing. Yeah.
There has to
Yeah.
be, because unless that is there, it will never happen. One.
Yeah.
And two, like Samir mentioned in his initial thing, all the major players who are into subscription model,
Yes.
okay, they have their own analytics. Everything they know by the minute who's watching what, with geography, everything. And if it's not an ad-based model, they don't need to give that data. They will not give that data.
Right.
They may use it for content, but they will not give that data. So these are the two things, and they're not obliged to give. And why will they give? The moment they give, the whole, again, everything will change. And for a person who's paying his subscription money, he doesn't care how many people are watching. As long as I'm watching, I'm happy.
Okay. So coming back to the question, did you sell on ROI or storytelling?
Simple, this Google sells their homepage for 1.5 crore or something.
That's the rack rate. 1.5 crore a day if you want to buy the
Okay.
YouTube masthead.
Okay. Times of India sells its front page for, I don't know, क्या आज का भाव क्या है पता नहीं जो भी है ठीक है
4
जो भी
crores?
है
Ashish, what was it at least?
okay.
So 2 crores a day versus the 1.5 crore.
If
That's it.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, because once there was some controversy between a big star and one of the newspapers, and I just went and saw how many followers the star had, and they had the star had more followers than the entire circulation of the newspaper.
Right.
Okay, so for me, I was thinking, but people still pay money, right? People
Branding.
still pay money for front page in spite of the reach and so on.
Yes.
Now that is for impact.
Yes.
So some of the things and most of the clients, while they speak performance and they've got everybody, that's another thing that's happened with all brand managers and product managers and things like that. Everybody wants what we call is,
CEO marketing. Say it.
no, you want something on a paper to justify what you bought.
Yeah.
I'm being I'm using the right word. Trying to
And
be
the hoardings
politically
outside
correct.
the CEO's house and at
Correctly
the airport,
politically.
so that everybody sees
Okay.
it.
He said it, I didn't. Okay. So the thing is, you have to see what, and yet the same clients go and spend on big shows like a Khatron Ke Khiladi or a Big Boss or a Saregama or something, and they call it impact buys.
Right.
Advertising works, the way I look at it, the way is like a cat drinks milk. You know, when a cat drinks milk, it closes its eyes. It thinks nobody's watching. Advertising works just the opposite. If I see my ad, I believe the world is watching my ad.
Right.
Yeah. No, I have a lot more faith in our brand managers and media
No,
planners.
I also have a lot more faith. Yeah, my whole career depends on them. But having said that, I think one of the biggest things that is happening today is this performance thing. I mean, end of the day, a media platform is not supposed to be a sales, is not a dealership. I have a big disconnect on this performance thing.
You're not saying it, but you're going to, yeah.
And tons and tons and tons of money is going there. And on paper, it all sounds great, but actually, where's the real accountability? I'm saying this, and this is something that I've been saying all along. And
No, I think, sorry, I have to put this matter to rest.
Yeah,
right?
Satya, a little bit louder.
Yeah. No, so I personally think that it will always be a very good combination of performance, impact, content, right? On different platforms and on different shows and with different brands, they'll probably have a different mix as far as all of those are concerned. Because there are some brands who are actually very, very focused on conversion. There are some brands who need to build their brand image at that given point of time and things like that, right? So I'm not too worried about the future of the brand manager and the media planner. I think, I mean, I used to be a brand manager, so hence I have to defend that faith. But yeah, so I mean,
But back then,
I think,
your tenure wasn't 18 months.
sorry?
Your tenure wasn't 18 months. That's the problem. Not the brand manager, but the tenure of the brand
Yeah,
manager.
no, I agree, right? I mean, I think the brand always wants to grow, right? You have to keep that in mind. The brand always wants to grow. And so what if the brand manager or the media planner recognizes a trend right now and decides to go deeper into that? There's nothing wrong in that.
It's just
right?
tactical and not strategic.
Yeah, some
That's
of it
the
is
problem.
tactical, some of it is strategic. So I have a lot of faith. I think that equilibrium will stay. I think India is at a very interesting point, building on what we were talking about the numbers at this point of time, right? I think in the US about 3 years ago, digital AdX crossed TV AdX, or it became equal. I think it's going to happen in Japan this year, is what we hear, right? UK has already happened, yeah.
Globally, it's happening this year. So
Exactly.
2019 is the first year where
Yeah.
digital advertising will cross 51% globally.
Which I think is
50.1%.
a ripe time for me to float my theory, right? Which is that apart from a brand or an advertiser chasing eyeballs, I also think that the cleverer brand will also chase time spent trying to understand what their consumer is spending time on. There's a nuance there, is what I feel, right? One is you can look at mathematical time spent and say, okay, this time spent here is greater than time spent there. But if you actually then say, look, this is my TG, what is relevant for my TG from a time spent point of view? In the world of television, I feel the content is still pretty homogeneous at this point of time, right? So there's either the soap or the show, right, or the reality show, right? So it's pretty homogeneous in that sense. But I feel as individuals, and we all can reflect on it when we go back tonight, we as individuals actually have a different worldview, right? I mean, if I have an hour to spend, if I have no choice, right, I will then consume the one that is the most attractive at that point of time, right?
Right.
But if I have an hour to spend and I have choice, depending on what my affinity is, for example, if I'm a student and I know I'm going to spend some time wanting to hear the next big song or the next big show, but I might also want to spend some time on information, right, which might be important to me at that point of time, right? So in these short 4 years, we feel that the first 100 million consumers who came onto YouTube were primarily very homogeneous in that sense, right? They came there for entertainment, they came there for catch-up TV, they came there for movies, music, and all of that. The next 100 million that we saw coming in, we started to see the heterogeneity happen, right? We saw them spending a lot more time on information, right? Whether it was as banal as how to tie a shoelace or how can I do well in an interview, right? This 100 million, which is currently on YouTube, which is coming onto YouTube, is
You mean
not
the next
just,
100 million?
Yeah,
Because how many are there now? 300 million?
yeah, maybe it's 265 is the official number.
Monthly actives.
Is monthly actives, is here not just for entertainment and information, but also for education, right? The next 100 and the 100 after that will then also come for different things. Agreed, they will be the same 900 million who are from TV, but then on television, they are exposed to homogeneous content at this point of time, right? But when they get alternatives in the digital side, where you're able to then go to the kind of content you want, the advertiser will also then realize that, look, I'm not just following eyeballs or entertainment in that sense, but I'm following time spent. So that's sorry, me throwing my crazy theory in.
Okay.
I want to answer a question which Raj didn't answer, which you directly asked him, and
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his, so I'm giving
So
the
you'll answer
disclaimer
on his
before.
behalf. Yeah.
I'm
Because he
ask-
would have
answering on
sold those
his behalf.
stories to you, right?
He,
Yeah.
how Raj sold, he probably maybe 25 years ago, I'm saying he wasn't as senior then as he now is in the industry. How Raj sold was on trust. How Raj sold was actually on accountability at a time when there was not even, I mean, diary measurement hota tha, then we had TAM, INTAM, all of that. It wasn't that refined way of even measuring. But the trust was that I know if I have put something that Raj has said in front of my client, even if something happens, let's say, because nobody knows, some shows succeed, some don't succeed. And I think KBC and Britannia is a good example where 50-50, we're the first guys who had bought that. I knew that if something goes wrong, I can go back to him and say, Raj, boss, this has not happened. Yaar, you now need to bail me out, or you need to bail out my client. You've taken, whatever, 10 crores from the client. He's not got his worth. And I knew in my heart that he would in some way make up that 10 by 20 crores, right? So there was a very high level of accountability, but it was based on trust.
Right.
Correct? That in today's world is utopian. It's not going to happen. Today, even if Raj comes and tells somebody, I mean, other than old relationships, nobody will.
But wait, he's going to launch a new company. I don't know if he's going to share that, but his new venture, he might actually say that.
But the difference in that is, I come back to my point. Today, that accountability comes from metrics and the measurement of deliverability. It's no longer me saying, sir, don't worry, main kar dunga aapka. Life has moved on from there, right? It's got to say, you're giving me 10, I'm going to give you 53. Now, have I delivered or have I not delivered, right? And to your point, that whether it'll go to time spent, now you say time spent. Facebook says, 3 seconds के लिए भी ad देख लिया तो it's okay, time spent is irrelevant. I think what we need to do as an industry is to agree on that common metric. So if it is time spent, it's time spent, fine, right? Then let's all, good or bad, we agreed that BARC is one measurement for TV. I'm not saying it's the best measurement, I'm not saying it's a perfect measurement, but we all agreed that this is one common, okay? We all agreed that IRS is the agreed metric for readership. Right? It has 1,000 problems. I'm the chairman of MRUC. I can tell you it has 1,000 problems which need to be addressed and improved. But we agreed that this is a parameter. The biggest problem in this ecosystem is that we have not yet agreed that parameter. And then the next stage that we've got to now agree, how will it move across screens, across
Ashish, the issue is that the ecosystem that evolved in print or TV evolved over many, many years. And Raj and me were having this conversation over coffee in the morning on how everybody's lives and careers also evolved like that, right? Here, when YouTube came in, and from YouTube to Z5 to TikTok to whatever, it's evolving so quickly that even if I agree on a metric today, the new platform that comes in may not even be relevant to that metric, right? A hyper shorts kind of platform where the video length itself is only 30 seconds to 90 seconds is not even in comparison to YouTube, nor is it comparison to Facebook. An Instagram kind of a platform which is only about photos is again not comparable to a YouTube or comparable to a Z5. So the platforms and the way users engage with them and the way users or a face app and the way users find them engaging with their own lives is very different from the way life used to be 10 or 15 years ago.
The question to you is, you highlighted a serious problem, but are you saying that we shouldn't do it because of that? Because that is a challenge, but because of the challenge, should it not be attempted?
You're all bringing it back to video and how many seconds somebody watches video. Video may not be relevant. It's all about photos. Today, Instagram is not a video platform, it's just a photo platform, and within photos, somebody creates Instagram stories. And that is why it all comes back to, I'm a brand manager, I have a KPI of doing so many leads, I have a KPI of doing so many installs, I have a KPI of getting so many people to get to my e-commerce website. It's eventually about that. It's not about how many people saw the video for how many seconds, because there may be no video.
That could be the measurement metric.
And that is the current metric.
That could be it.
And that is what Ashish's agency does very well, and continuously cut.
So if one had that common stream across all, you would say that I would buy
Yeah,
that,
and
right?
that's how everybody buys today. I mean, we've been doing customer acquisition. We are at 70 million. We've acquired 70 million users in the last 15
look,
months. We
what-
just do that.
What Tarun is saying is absolutely right. In a dynamic world, there can't be one static measure. It has to evolve on that. I feel very old saying this, but this takes me back. I just joined advertising 32 years ago. Television was in its nascency. It's actually Asian Games time it came in, and Surf at Lalita ji ka some quiz program or something had come on TV. That was the first real sponsored program, etc. This was, let's say, late 80s is when it happened. And there were exactly similar arguments then. And by the
Against
time,
print. For print
because
to
somebody
move to TV.
said that I have a ticker going on I remember this argument. I have a ticker going on that. How can you measure it? What is this, etc. Right? So these things will evolve within 4, 5, 7 years. Internet is now, digital marketing now in India is 10 years old. It's no longer, or plus. I'm saying 10 mature years old, right? So it's not, the mature part, I mean, really 10, 12 years old. So it's not that much in its nascency or infancy that we can't even agree on some basic parameters, which of course will have to evolve. And what Tarun is saying is absolutely right. Ultimately, it is performance. I mean, as a brand manager, I'm paying money. I want to see some metric that delivers it. But agree on the metric is my point.
Okay, I'm going to start coming around, and I do. I mean, this has been a great discussion, but I do want to bring it back to some of the core that we did want to talk about, because the stuff that we are talking about is going to decide the way content is created, and therefore that's joining the dots to, because at the end of the day, it's a business for the people making the content. Therefore, it links back to how that's going to define how web content is going to be created in the future. Satya, your take on the meteoric rise of TikTok and other platforms like TikTok, and how that impacts YouTube, and how do you see overall web entertainment evolving going forward?
No, I mean, I just want to see this from the lens of the consumer and the creator, right? I think for the creator, this is just the most fantastic time to be able to create content so that they're able to then achieve their objectives.
Individuals and corporates, both.
Individuals, corporates, everyone, right? I mean, as each platform comes, there are fewer or no gates in front of people to actually create content and discover the eyeballs or the engagement or the time spent or even performance. I think that's what is happening right now. There will obviously be a lot of platforms which will continue to be about curated content in that sense. And maybe as Tarun was saying, a lot of that ultimately will find the right buyer and the payer in that sense. So I think for the consumer and the creator, it's just fantastic. As each year goes by, as each platform comes in, it just democratizes content creation and consumers then being able to watch what they want to watch in that sense. Okay. And that is really the future in that sense.
Raj?
Yeah, I agree to everything that he said. I mean, but like I think Applause is a good company that's done recently so many shows. One of the things which I think that will happen going forward, the content demand is only going to increase, okay? That's going to happen. But I think at the same time, the big players will be there. There will be a consolidation, and the small players will have to shut shop. That's a reality, because they will not be able to compete with them, like Tarun just said, in terms of keeping them engaged by bringing that much content into it, or technology, again, has a huge price. The big players may be able to afford it. Even the big OTT players will have a challenge dealing with the bigger OTT players, because today all the tech companies have become content companies.
Right.
So I think, but like you said, for content creators, I think this is the best time. It's a diamond era for them. And the demand-supply ratio, it's a question of, there will be everybody wanting to get into content. It's a question of the quality of content that you will be able to deliver.
Got it. And before, so you want to finish?
Yeah, another thing, I think the broadcasters will have to evolve, because I think the way things are shifting, if broadcasters don't evolve, in terms of their content. And one of the things, when you asked me about 24, I was thinking about it. If today we had to do 24, it could have gone both on TV and
Of course.
on
of course.
digital,
Yeah.
which I think is an opportunity today for amortizing cost and broadcasters also to think, because people earlier compared Star with Sony, Z with Colors and whatever things, right? Today they are comparing it with Hotstar, Netflix, Amazon, Z5,
Yep.
and they have a choice.
YouTube.
And binge watching is something that's happening.
Yep.
Big time. So I think broadcasters, if they don't evolve their way of investment in their content and in terms of the way storytelling is being told, I think there will be a
They will
challenge.
die. Right. But just before I come into Tarun, how many of you in the audience believe that Indians don't like to pay for content? Okay, so most of you believe that Indians like to pay for content, so that leads into the whole point of paid subscription. And it's something that I also strongly believe. For a long time before QQ, I ran a business that sold games to audiences, and back in the day, we ran a 150 crore business selling games, and it was unthinkable for people who didn't operate in that space. But I think Indians do pay for content, and if you think of it in the context of something that Z is very smartly done, pricing it at the right price point, you know, all of us are paying less than half of what we used to pay for our phone bills 3 years ago. I used to pay 5,000-6,000 rupees 3 years ago. I pay 1,500 rupees right now. All of us have seen that. So there's a lot of money. These are the two things. Bandwidth costs and your telephone bills are the only two things that have become much, much cheaper as time has gone by. And so you have some money to actually deploy in content. So on the paid subscription strategy, if you can tell us the future of content according to you, and give us some insight into what's the funnel between what's the cost of acquiring a paid consumer? Give us some insight, if not Z's number, but you know, what is that number broadly for people to actually acquire a paying customer?
So I think it's interesting times. The one thing that will happen is that this business will no longer be a content business. It's already no longer a content business. It's a content meets data meets technology business. And I think we must accept that, we must believe that, and we must work on that. For any platform like ours or anybody else, technology actually comes first, then comes content, and then comes data, and it keeps pulling into each other all the time. The amount of investment that goes into machine learning, into artificial intelligence, into being able to hyper-personalize, into being able to make content discovery easier, and to be able to have built-to taste clusters which are really attention deficient. So, you know, the 18 to 34, if you look at them watching any digital video, they don't even go beyond the first 1 minute or 2 minutes, and that's it. You know, you don't have any completion rates. The best show on Netflix or on Z5 is desperate to get upward of a 30% completion rate, and that is the reality. Now, let's talk about, you know, how do you get people to move to subscription? So, if you have a threshold of content available for subscription, and people do believe that this is their option to come back every day or to in their free time to be able to watch good quality content, that is to their taste, and you've got to have at least 15 to 20 taste clusters in every language that you cater for. They will make you your choice. And if it's at the right price point, and if you've got ease of payment, if you've got ease of consumption, if you've got a great front end, I think this is here to stay. But all of this has to come together, which is technology, product, content, as well as data.
And do you think that's an impulse buy, that I want to see that show, I pay the effective 100 or net 70 rupees for, and then I forget to unsubscribe later on, and so it carries on? How much of that is there?
No, I don't think people impulse buy so much. Yes, they do. There are triggers to consumption. Big films, big shows end up becoming big triggers to consumption. Goldie was here, and he's just finished a show for us called Rejects. Big 18 to 34 show, big trigger to consumption at one cohort. Another cohort, we released the film called Tashkent for 15th August. Another very different cohort of consumers who will come and watch Tashkent and watch a completely different set of shows after that. So, there is an entire funnel. But what people do is also look at whether you have the depth of content for them to be able to consume this on an ongoing basis. And people make very, very informed choices on whether to buy a monthly pack or to buy an annual pack over a period of time.
Fantastic. Ashish, please.
I feel this is the best time for content and content developers, and I think it's only going to get better in the next few years. I do believe on OTTs there's going to be a consolidation. I don't think there is space for whatever 35 or so. There has to be some consolidation. The one problem that we should avoid from a content point of view is that of sameness. Because if one formula, one Mirzapur works and then you have 55 lookalikes, I feel like today, for example, a film star is the biggest deal or a star is the biggest deal. I think writers are going to become, or people who ideate and people who have the writers are going to become the most scarce sought after, good writers will
Great
become the
point,
most scarce sought after commodity, and people who can come up with good ideas and write them well in a way that we can relate to the next 200, 300 million who are language consumers who are coming in, those guys I think are the ones who are going to win in this long run.
Fantastic. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we open up to questions, I just wanted to contextualize. I mean, Tarun summarized it. The reason why we went into the depths of all of the business models and the data is because this business that we're talking about, that we're seeing on YouTube and OTTs, is a business of content. Is the last piece. He in fact went as far as saying it's not a content business, but I think the point that he was making there is that it's a data business. It's a marketing game. It's a technology business. So there's several things to it. So I'm glad we covered that up. Let's any questions before we? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my question is to Mr. Katyal, and then obviously all of you can kind of add your thoughts. Sorry. Hi, I'm Jigar. I am an editor at Mumbai Life. Firstly, congratulations on your achievement on collaboration. That's where my question starts. Is earlier when the platforms started, they always wanted to kind of create a bank and then a library to kind of make sure that they stand out. But in today's time, with your collaboration with Alt and with MX trying to kind of take your content and also show, where is this new wave of content and OTT platforms collaborating and then reaching out to a larger audience, taking this whole game? Second, how does this affect subscription and the brands?
Okay, so yeah, we have a collaboration with Alt, but there is no collaboration between us and MX, just to clarify. Okay, MX is a free platform. It's a great platform, and we are a freemium platform, and the collaboration is for subscription content. Why we collaborate with Alt is for what I was saying earlier. You need to build threshold content for many clusters, many taste clusters. And we do believe that Alt caters to 3 or 4 very good taste clusters. I think Balaji's produced a fair amount of content on the youth cluster as well as a lot around the soap and drama cluster. We do have a lot of different kind of clusters that we complement and supplement each other. And it does help us build an even larger base of direct-to-consumer base as well as the B2B2C consumer base. So yes, it's time to collaborate. If you can build an even bigger bank of library of content for consumers to come and users to come and buy a subscription, why not?
And is this going to be kind of the future for Indian OTT platforms?
Yeah, if you look at, let's give you another example. If you look at what Amazon does with Amazon channels, HBO and CBS Access are bundled into Amazon or can be bought in at an additional price on Amazon. So there will be a huge amount of bundling, and these are all distribution channels. You will continue to have your own identity, but also distribute through complementary and supplementary platforms. This is exactly what we do with telcos. We have a great relationship with Vodafone Play. You can get into Vodafone Play and eventually migrate to ZEE5 from there. We have a similar relationship with Airtel. We plan to have a similar relationship with other telcos. So this is an ongoing relationship. It is going to continue to emerge. There are different kind of collaborations will come, and digital, the way it plays out, allows for a lot of these top funnels and bottom funnels to build out.
Great, thank you.
How many can we take? A couple of more? 2 more, okay.
My question to Mr. Raj Nayak, sir. Sir, I just got a press release from Inox. They have condemned the recent statement by Jio that they are going to stream the film. Since you have been in Viacom 18 for a long time, recently I think you left. So my question is to you that, isn't it a threat for cinemas, sir? If you agree, and if you do not agree, so is it not threat for digital content or digital platform? What's your take, sir?
So let's contextualize. The first day, first show that you're talking about that Reliance announced recently, Jio, is that a threat to theaters more than to digital content? I mean, which is increased web content, but
Even vice versa also.
The answer is I really don't know. But one thing I know for sure is, as far as the consumer is concerned, he will now have the choice of watching a cinema in his house on first day. And if you want probably to watch it on a larger screen, you still have the choice of going to a theater. But what its impact would be, I don't know. It's too early to say.
Any of you, can you
Because
answer?
theatre is a different experience.
Going
you know.
to theatre is an experience.
It's
and,
like-
and watching VOD is convenience. And you'll trade when you bases your time availability. Yeah.
Next question, please.
Hello.
Lady in the back, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Ritu Asrani. I'm a documentary filmmaker. My question is that we are talking about web entertainment. Like there have been different kind of media in our country since past so many centuries. Like there have been folk tales, folk songs, folk plays, which have focused on social reforms. India is going through a lot of social issues as well. We have Mangalyaan, we have space technology, but let's admit we have a lot of social issues as well. So our media, different media, whether it's radio or Bollywood films, right from Achyut Kanya to Satyajit Ray, V. Shantaram films to Padman, they have focused on certain social issues as well. Where do you see the future of, I would coin the word, sociotainment instead of infotainment, social change bringing entertainment in web platforms, that's the digital streaming services, whether there is some future or people are going to find it very preachy and they are going to switch over to the sleazy or thrillers or horror?
Okay, so good question. I think all big digital streaming platforms are trying to make shows which have a soul, which have a meaning, and they're purposeful content. We did a show very recently called Kafir. You should go back and watch it. It's about a girl who comes accidentally into India but can't find a way back into Pakistan. It was in the height of the turbulent issues in Kashmir, dealt very, very sensitively between two religions. And we wanted to do a message with that, which is that, it's all about individuals and not about countries or people. And everybody continues to make shows like that. Most shows do have a message, whichever way you look at it. Some people say that these shows have too much of sex or even crime. But remember that they're representing society and they're liberating people's viewing habits at some point in time. Even that's a social need.
5,000 cash, please.
Yeah, hello.
Guys, there's a 5,000 rupee cash prize for a great question. So come up with a great
One question here.
Maybe
Yeah.
last
Excuse me, sir.
question, please, for this panel. Last
Yeah,
question.
hello everybody. Okay, so we just discussed about the technology, the data science, and AI, machine learning, and all playing a great role in future. In US, there is a trend that all these big technology companies buying media houses and OTT players. Do you see that in India also the same trend will happen?
So there's the only company that has been bought by, and not even a technology company, but Warner has been bought by AT&T.
AT&T,
Right? It's a telecom company. It's not truly a technology company. It's not the big five tech companies. I think tech companies don't buy or buy into traditional companies. It's because at some level they do believe that they're in a different business and the media businesses are different. There is consolidation between the studios in the US. So you've seen the News Corp and Disney merger. You have seen the Comcast and NBC takeover. And you've seen the AT&T Warner merger happen. I do think that everybody does require content at some point in time, and bigger platforms will seek such content companies. It'll happen at a content company level. I don't know whether it'll happen at a large broadcaster level. It's too much of a big bite to take. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Complementary to that question, when you're investing so much on AI,
Can you stand up?
when you are investing on so much on AI,
Sorry, where's this question from?
yeah,
Can we see?
here.
Can you,
Oh,
sorry,
there.
sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Like Reed Hastings had Cinematch as an AI algorithm. I don't find any of the OTT companies in India investing so much or having an edge. Whenever I see an OTT platform, at least from south of India where I'm coming from, everybody feels it's a porn kind of environment. Why everybody had an AI with them?
There
Why
may be
still-
analytics in that also.
Yeah, why still everyone pushing the edgy content?
Pushing what content?
Edgy content.
So you must remember, and I can speak for YouTube itself, it all comes from your own watch history. If you watch a lot of edgy content, a lot of edgy content shows up on your recommendation.
Hi.
Well,
I asked about that Cinematch. The earlier Netflix had the thing because they had the algorithm called Cinematch. Why Indians don't devise a AI?
No, there is. Everybody has a certain amount of recommendation engine on their platform. And the recommendation engine recommends what you like to watch.
Hi.
Well,
Hi.
that will be the last question for
This
the
is
panel.
Adish from Alt Balaji. So the panel was about like entertainment now and next. When let's say when we speak about AVOD model, unless the advertisers are ready to take the risk and be associated with edgy content or maybe a differentiated content, the content, I mean, the future content will also stay the same as we see right now what is available on TV, which appeals to the lowest common denominator. So I want to understand when will the advertisers be ready to be associated? So, I mean, so unless the ecosystem moves towards SVOD, I feel the content will stay the same. So because it won't be.
So Adish, what is the question? The question is?
I mean, so I want to understand when will advertisers be ready to be associated and take the risk and advertise?
I thought we covered some of
edgy?
that. Do you want to just?
I don't fully agree with you that advertisers are not ready to take the risk, etc., etc. I'm not talking about risky content. I'm not talking about like overly edgy content because brands may not want to be associated for social reasons and so on. But and there might be a Durex or some brand who might want to, but in general may not. But look, you've got to think of it this way: if there is great content and if lots and lots of people are watching it, whichever for digital, TV, wherever, sooner than later, somebody somewhere will start tracking it and figuring it out and say, why am I not on it? Because everybody loves a great deal. So if I can get a content as an advertiser, which lots of people are watching, but it is not heavily priced and nobody is advertising on it, that's the sort of thing I'm always looking out for and my money will flow there. So I don't agree with you that advertisers will not, if it is too edgy, too risky and doesn't go with the brand's personality and feel, that's a separate thing. So there may be instances like these, but otherwise, if you are getting viewers, so what you have to concentrate on, I feel, is to get consistent audience. The problem with many of the contents is that you get very good 1 or 2 episodes or shows or whatever, and then it tapers down. The moment you have good, consistent viewers coming to you, concentrate on getting the viewers. Advertising, I guarantee you, will flow there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you so
So
much. And that would be the last question.
One last question, please.
Sir, please, we are running out of time. We have the next panel already ready. Please. I'm sorry for that.
Okay, maybe we can take it offline. These gentlemen will be here. If you can grab them before they're stepping out, you can address your question to them.
So you want to decide the winner for this?
Yeah, we'll give it to the lady who asked the social question, I guess.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I please have you on stage? And ladies and gentlemen, can I have a big round of applause for Mr. Raj Nayak, Ashish Bhasin, Mr. Satya Raghavan, and Mr. Tarun Katyal for this amazing panel. Thank you so much, sir. And can I also please invite Mr. Ram Kamal Mukherjee, author and filmmaker, and Mr. Ashish Banka, co-founder, business head, IWM Buzz, on the stage to present the memento. Can we have the mementos on the stage, please? And post this, we have very amazing Facebooking panel coming on board. Thank you so much, sir. Mementos, Tarun sir. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.